Previously on RCMP Plus. The season began with an East Coast explosion. The defending champ King Cobras showed no mercy, immediately dismantling Dunkin' Donuts to prove the throne was still theirs. But as the East started to crumble under a wave of injuries, a Wild West emerged, a gritty, dog-eat-dog division where every team was a threat. So from the start, dominance was on display, but cracks were already beginning to show in the East. While Notre Dame time quietly seized control of the West, the East became a three-way battlefield. The Z Tigers cemented their top dog status, tearing through the Power Bombers and the Guardians to ignite a massive win streak. Meanwhile, at the bottom of the barrel, the Ballers were barking loud despite a nightmare losing skid, blaming health while the Pinguinis mocked them for rostered dinosaurs. But the narrative shifted when the Guardians pulled off a miracle, erasing a 3-0-0 point deficit to stun the Pinguinis and eventually dethrone the King Cobras. Guardians finally defeated the Power Bombers in the regular season, ending the curse. As the playoffs loomed, the Pinguinis transformed into the league's ultimate puppet master. First, they fleeced the Alphas for Karl Anthony Towns. Then, after a vetoed trade between the Power Bombers and Jokey the Goat left a window open, the Pinguinis swooped in to snag Franz Wagner for Jared McCain. A super team was born. The trade deadline brought the heat. Notre Dame time and the Guardians tried to dance, but Notre Dame got cold feet, looking for a better deal with Jokey the Goat. Vetoes flew, accusations of collusion filled the air, and the league descended into pure chaos. The carnage was swift. The Fallen. The Ballers were the first to go, followed by Jokey the Goat, Dunkin' Donuts, and Padfoot Toes. The Streak. The Z Tigers saw their legendary 1-0 week win streak finally snapped by the powerhouse Notre Dame time. On the bubble. It all came down to the final week. The Alphas fought to the bitter end, but the Power Bombers clung to the number 7 seed like a lifeline. 7 teams remain. 1 crown. Who will survive the pressure of the RCMP Plus playoffs? Find out right now.
Now the playoff bracket is locked in.
This is the moment we have been building toward all season.
Notre Dame time gets the bye as the number 1 seed. King Cobras versus Pinguinis.
This one has history. The last 2 years, Pinguinis have been eliminated from the playoffs by King Cobras. Pinguinis finally defeat King Cobras.
2 balls, 1 hoop versus Z Tigers.
Z Tigers are that quiet sleeper. Anthony Edwards and James Harden can explode any week.
That is a heavyweight matchup.
Z Tigers pull out the win.
Power Bombers versus Guardians.
This is an old rivalry renewed.
The Power Bombers have been the team that stops the momentum of the Guardians.
But this season has looked different. Guardians have been dominant. The question is, can they finally break that curse? Power Bombers move on.
Notre Dame time versus Pinguinis. Notre Dame time. He's got the number 1 seed, and he's looking unstoppable.
But don't forget the Pinguinis. They've already dismantled the former champions, the Cobras. the rookie sensation versus the giant.
Pinguinis have done it again. Z Tigers versus Power Bombers.
This is a rematch from last year's semifinals.
The Z Tigers are the youth and swagger of this league.
The Power Bombers are on a full-blown Cinderella run. Is the clock striking at midnight?
The Z Tigers are one step closer. Pinguinis versus Z Tigers.
Two franchises with unfinished business, two managers who've crawled through the mud, the blood, and the waiver wire to get here. They didn't just survive the playoffs, they defied them. 20 weeks of lineups, waiver moves, injuries, and trash talk, all leading to the postseason.
Both these teams know pain. Both know heartbreak.
This is fantasy basketball. This is the RCMP Plus Heavyweight Championship of 2026.
The RCMP Plus Fantasy Hoops Championship trophy goes to Pinguinis.
Get ready for Fantasy Hoops. Step into the arena, RCMP Plus. It's not luck, it's logic. Bang, that's a power bomb move right there. Light it up, big fella. Woo, that's fantasy fireworks. Buckets, baby. Ain't no rivalry like an RCMP rivalry. From the stats to smack talk, where trash talk meets true talk. It's not just fantasy, it's legacy.
Welcome back to RCMP Plus Fantasy Hoops. I am Tommy Douglas, and this is it. The final episode of the season.
And I am PG-13. Yup, this is the last one. After everything we have seen this year, it all comes down to this.
And what a season it has been. From week 1 all the way to now, nothing about this league went the way we thought it would.
Not even close. We had dominant teams, we had collapses, we had lineup blunders that still do not make sense, and somehow we still ended up with chaos at the very end.
We watched teams rise, teams fall, and a few that just never figured it out. Ballers had superstar power but could not put it together. Dunkin' Donuts left more points on the bench than on the scoreboard some weeks.
And then you had teams like Power Bombers barely surviving, clawing their way into the playoffs like their season depended on every last rebound and assist. Because it did.
Padfoot Toes tried to rewrite their story this year. Alphas made a late push that just came up short. And Jokey the Goat might still be on vacation after that final week.
At the top though, it was a war all season long. Guardians, Z Tigers, Notre Dame, time going back and forth for that number 1 spot like nobody wanted to blink first.
And then the playoffs hit.
And everything got even crazier.
The pressure, the matchups, the unexpected performances. This is where seasons are defined and legacies are made.
Some teams proved they belonged. Others, well, they learned the hard way that the playoffs are a different game.
Tonight we break it all down. The playoff run, the biggest moments, and ultimately, who came out on top.
One last ride.
Let's get into it.
Too much. Jokey at the goat, got that triple-double glow. 2 balls, 1 hoop, yeah, they run the show. Fantasy kings don't bitch and cry. We talk that, but the takes collide.
We said it all year, PG. But this is why you play the games. Let's start with the first 3 matchups in the first round, and every single one felt like a heavyweight fight. I'm talking swings, momentum shifts, heartbreak, redemption. This was peak RCMP plus Fantasy Hoops.
I'm still recovering. I needed a day off after last night. My phone battery died twice, just refreshing scores. This is what we signed up for, man. Chaos. Absolute chaos.
Let's not waste time. Bring on the playoffs breakdown. Let's start with the first round. King Cobras, 12-22 versus Pinguinis, 13. 13 Pinguinis get the win.
Finally. 2 straight years getting bounced by the Cobras, and they come back and flip the script.
And it didn't start that way. King Cobras came out swinging. Early lead, looked comfortable, like they were about to make it 3 straight playoff wins over Pinguinis.
Yeah, but here's the thing about Pinguinis. They don't die. You can knock them down, but you better bury them. Cobras didn't.
That stretch run was insane. Pinguinis just clawing back, point by point, and then boom, tie game late in the week.
That's when the pressure hits. And Cobras folded. Pinguinis didn't. That's championship mentality right there.
They finally exorcised that demon. Huge moment. 2 balls, 1 hoop, 14-18 versus Z Tigers. 14-85. Z Tigers survive.
Game of the round. No debate. This was ridiculous.
Back and forth all week. Big score after big score. Nobody could separate.
And both teams losing their stars. No Giannis, no Anthony Edwards. You'd think scoring drops. Nope. These guys turned it into a track meet.
Every day, it was like, okay, this team's got it. Then, nope, swing back the other way.
And that final stretch, nail biter. You couldn't look away. 2 expansion teams, both proving they belong, and one had to go home.
Z Tigers just had that extra gear. Barely.
2 balls, 1 hoop loses that and still walks away with respect. That was a war.
Power Bombers, 13-39 versus Guardians, 11-54. Power Bombers win.
Here we go again. The curse lives on.
Every year, it feels like Guardians are building something special. And every year, Power Bombers show up and ruin it.
Guardians started hot too. Looked like they were finally gonna flip the script.
Then, Cade Cunningham goes down.
And that's it. That's the moment. You felt it immediately. Air out of the building.
Power Bombers smelled blood and finished it. Again.
Perfect season dreams, gone. Just like that.
Semi-finals. And this is where things get wild. All West teams. East completely wiped out.
That's crazy. Entire conference, gone. First time ever.
Notre Dame time. 898 versus Pinguinis. 1574. Pinguinis dominate.
This wasn't even close.
Nope. And let's be honest, Notre Dame time got lucky with that bye.
If they played first round, they might have been out early. Injuries everywhere.
And it finally caught up to them. Pinguinis came in hot and just steamrolled them.
Early lead, never looked back. This was over by midweek.
Taking out the number 1 seed like that statement. Z Tigers 14-44 versus Power Bombers 14-11. Z Tigers win.
Rematch from last year, and it delivered again.
Power Bombers on a Cinderella run. Z Tigers trying to prove they belong back in the finals.
And here's the thing, Power Bombers had this.
They did.
Then they bench players in the playoffs?
Still makes no sense.
You don't outsmart yourself in the semifinals. This isn't chess, this is survival.
Z Tigers didn't care how it happened. They just took it and ran.
Back to the finals for a second straight year.
Finals. Pinguinis 16-01 versus Z Tigers 15-68. Pinguinis win the championship.
This was cinema.
Both teams with something to prove. Both previously knocked out by King Cobras in past years. Both fighting through brutal paths.
Week starts even, nobody giving an inch.
Then Wednesday hits. Pinguinis explode. Massive lead.
And you're thinking, okay, that might be enough.
Then Friday comes.
Z Tigers go nuclear. Cooper Flagg puts up 91, 51 real points. As a teenager, unreal. Then on Sunday, he does it again, exploding to push the Z Tigers in the lead.
And suddenly, it's close. Real close.
Everything comes down to the final game. KD and Sengun need a miracle.
And they deliver. Huge night. Clutch performance.
That's championship stuff. That's how legends are made.
Pinguinis defeat the champs, the 1 seed, and the hottest team. That's the hardest road you can take.
No shortcuts. Earned every bit of it.
And let's not forget the playoff performances.
Top 3 across all rounds. Wemby, 661 for Pinguinis. KD, 551 for Pinguinis. Cooper Flagg, 508 for Z Tigers.
2 number 1 picks leading the charge. That's the future of the league right there.
And they showed up when it mattered most.
All right, it's time.
Let's do it.
The RCMP plus Fantasy Hoops Championship Trophy goes to Pinguinis.
Raise the banner. You earned it.
From playoff heartbreak to champions.
And now everyone else is chasing them next season.
Step into the lab, it's Tommy and PG Fantasy Hoops, where the tanks run deep. They break down stats like it's ESPN. Good vibes, wild what ifs again and again. They see the future in the box score line. Serious tone, but the rhythm's fine. If you want the truth with the playoff twist, Fantasy Hoops is top of the list. 4 mics, 1 league, 12 teams in the fire. Each crew got a style, each takes getting higher. From the lab to the lounge, from the court to the club. RCMP plus, we don't do scrubs. Fantasy Hoops, bring the brains and the charts. Chaos got the smoke and the code is hot. Queens got the glam, but they still bring pain. Bounce house wildin' like a runaway train.
Welcome back to RCMP plus Fantasy Hoops, your home for all things fab, points-based chaos, and the deep dive analytics of the most competitive league in the game.
We've got a massive numbers rundown. We're looking at some historic streaks and looking at the weirdest statistical anomaly in the league.
Seriously, if you like numbers, this is for you. Let's jump right into the scoring leaders for the week. Leading the pack this season, we had Notre Dame Time absolutely crushing it with 5 high-score appearances, followed by Power Bombers, King Cobras, and Z Tigers, all locking in 3 apiece.
On the flip side, someone has to pay the piper. Jokey Thigo hit the bottom of the barrel 5 times this season, with Padfoot Toes and Dunkin' Donuts not far behind, with 4 low-score weeks each. It was a rough stretch for the East Basement.
Speaking of rough stretches, we have to talk about the Ballers. They now officially hold the longest losing streak in RCMP plus history. 9 straight losses.
It's brutal, Tommy. Especially when you consider they had the single most explosive performance of the 2026 season. Back on Christmas night, Nikola Jokic dropped a massive 112 fantasy points. That's the highest single player total in one night this entire season. How do you have the Joker going nuclear and still end up with a 9-game skid?
That is the cruelty of the street clothes life, my friend. Meanwhile, on the opposite end of the spectrum, the Z Tigers were purring. They had set the record for the longest win streak at 10 games. They are the gold standard right now.
And let's give some flowers to the Power Bombers. Consistency is the hardest thing to maintain in this league, but they finished in the top 4 for all 3 seasons of our existence. That is a masterclass in management.
It really is. But remember, regular season success doesn't always translate. In all 3 seasons of RCMP Plus, the number 1 seed has never won the championship. If you make it to the top of the standings, you should be sweating.
The number 1 curse is real. But Tommy, we have to talk about the most middle-of-the-road legendary run I've ever seen. Let's talk about the Pinguinis.
The Pinguinis are a statistical miracle. In the 2 seasons since we expanded, they have never been the lowest scoring team in a week. Not once.
But here's the kicker. This season, they've never been the highest scoring team in the regular season. They are the ultimate survive and advance squad. They don't bottom out, but they don't skyrocket. They just exist in the safe zone.
They also match their win-loss record from last season. It's the Pinguinis paradox. We will be right back.
The kingpin upon the stage, giant Zion unleash the rage, and beats a hammer, PG's a blade. This squad's a war machine, perfectly made from top to bottom. No weak link. Ballers won the draft. What you think? Ballers won the draft. What you think? RCMP Plus. 12 squads entered, 1 squad reigns. The Ballers drafted a dynasty. Now the rest just play the game.
All right, let's get into it. The RCMP plus Fantasy Hoops Finale Awards Show. That's a mouthful.
No feelings spared either. If your team was bad, we're reminding you. If your moves were worse, we're definitely reminding you.
Let's start with MVP. Most valuable pickup of the season.
This one is tight. You got Edgecombe for Z Tigers, who came out of nowhere and completely changed that roster. In week 1,
And then you got Jason Tatum on Pinguinis, who basically turned that team into a playoff contender overnight.
I'm giving it to Edgecombe. Z Tigers were already good, but that pickup made them dangerous. That was the move that kept them winning.
I'll go Tatum. Pinguinis went from solid team to this might be their year. That is season-changing value.
So we're split already. Good start.
LVP. Least valuable player.
Anfernee Simmons. No debate.
Started on Notre Dame time. Got passed around like a hot potato to King Cobras. Then 2 balls, 1 hoop. Eventually dropped him.
Every manager thought this is the week he turns it around.
He never did.
That man tanked more lineups than injuries did.
The Why Did I Drop Him award.
Guardians dropping Quentin Grimes.
Only for Dunkin' Donuts to scoop him up and actually get production.
That is painful. That is watching your ex glow up.
Guardians were like, we're good without him.
They were not.
Best trade of the year.
Karl Anthony Towns to Pinguinis for Kawhi Leonard to Alphas.
Pinguinis absolutely won that deal.
Cat fit perfectly, stayed productive, and helped push them into a top playoff seed.
Meanwhile, Kawhi had his moments. But Alphas needed consistency and did not get enough of it. Worst trade.
Franz Wagner from Power Bombers for Jared McCain to Pinguinis.
Power Bombers gave up real value and got almost nothing back.
That trade aged like milk immediately.
That was the moment you knew Power Bombers were going to have to fight for their lives just to make playoffs. The injury that broke a man's spirit.
Guardians losing Cade Cunningham and Tyrese Maxey within a week.
That was brutal. That could have ended their season.
Or King Cobras with Trae Young. Strong start, then injuries all season long.
Cobras were never the same after that.
You could see the frustration week to week.
The I told you so take of the year.
King Cobras adding Grant to the lineup just for him to disappear when it mattered most.
That was peak overconfidence.
He really thought he found something.
He found nothing. Let's talk about chaos. The most chaotic manager this season.
It has to be Notre Dame time.
What? They finished first.
Yeah, and still had the worst trade offers in the league.
That is true.
Every week, it was like, here's 3 bench guys and fab for your best player.
And somehow, they still dominated the league.
That is what makes it worse.
Rise and fall of teams.
Padfoot 2s.
Started climbing. Looked like a playoff threat. Then injuries hit, and it was over.
Ballers 2. That roster should never miss playoffs.
Jokic, dropping 323 in a meaningless week, tells you everything.
Too little, too late.
Predictions for next season. Who has something to prove?
Alphas. No question.
Agreed. That roster is too talented to miss playoffs.
Also, King Cobras.
Hey now,
They were out first round. That is not a contender. That is not a back-to-back championship material.
they could have made it though.
In your dreams,
Teams that are locks to return in 2027.
Guardians, Power Bombers, King Cobras, Pinguinis.
Those are your pillars.
Teams that might relocate,
Padfoot 2s.
they might need a full rebrand. New name, new energy, new everything.
Jokey Thegoat might need to relocate to the waiver wire permanently.
That is harsh.
Is it wrong?
No,
Should the East and West divisions stay the same?
no chance. Shake it up.
Give me something like Legends and Contenders.
Or Chaos Division and Control Division.
Notre Dame time in chaos for sure.
He lives there.
Should the league expand?
I say yes. Add one or two teams.
I say no. Too many managers already struggling to set lineups.
That is fair. We do not need more Jokey the Goat situations.
Or more Dunkin' Donuts weeks, where nobody checks the lineup. Next year's breakout stars.
Victor Wembanyama.
He already broke out.
He's about to break the league.
I'll say Cade Cunningham comes back even stronger. Players who will be overdrafted.
Anyone who had one hot playoff week.
That is every year.
Someone is taking a mid-tier guy in round 2 and regretting it immediately.
Hot takes that will age terribly.
Power Bombers winning the championship next year.
Wow,
Bookmark it.
that is a bold prediction.
I said it would age terribly.
Rule changes the league should consider.
Stricter lineup rules.
No more free wins because someone forgot to set their roster.
And maybe trade review changes.
Yeah, because some of those vetoes this year caused chaos. Final thoughts.
Shout out to everyone in the league.
The trash talk, the competition, the weekly drama,
Best memories?
that final playoff push. Power Bombers fighting for their life.
Pinguini's statement win over King Cobras in the postseason.
And honestly, all the unexpected moments.
That is what made this season special.
Next season, it has a lot to live up to.
A lot.
And knowing this league.
It probably will.
See hoops, they break it down clean. Tommy and PG, the analyst dream. Vibes and what ifs to keep it tight. Serious takes with all the daylight. Courtside chaos, roaring loud. Reese and CJ roast the crowd. No fluff, just fire. They rage a review. If your team's weak, they're coming for you.
Welcome back to RCMP Plus Fantasy Hoops. Joined as always by the man who knows more about offensive rotations than I do about social safety nets PG-13.
Easy now, Tommy. I'm just here to make sure these GMs don't end up in the ICU after we're done with them. We're breaking down all 12 team seasons, and man, some of these finishes were uglier than a contested layup from the logo.
It was a bloodbath. We're looking at what these squads could have done to have that championship DNA, but ended up with a DNA test that said, not the father of the trophy.
Let's get right into it. The champs are dead. Long live the Kings.
The King Cobras, back-to-back champs. They came into the season looking for the three-peat like they were the 90s Bulls. They started like a SpaceX rocket, PG. First few weeks, they were untouchable.
Yeah, until the rocket fuel turned into tap water. Look, the GM here is a mastermind. You don't go back-to-back by accident. Donovan Mitchell was playing like an MVP candidate, but when Trae Young went down early, the vibe shifted.
It wasn't just the injuries, though. It was the hoarding. PG, our GM friend here, treated his roster like an episode of Hoarders, NBA edition. Specifically, Jordan Poole.
Oh, Jordan Poole. Watching the Cobras hold on to Poole this year was like watching someone try to fix a leaky boat with Scotch tape. You gotta let go, man. You're the King Cobras, not the sentimental Cobras. They stayed loyal to guys who were putting up triple singles.
Exactly. They had moments of brilliance, but getting bounced in the first round by Pinguinis? That's gotta sting. The Pinguinis waddled right over them.
Credit where it's due. though this GM knows how to build a winner. To even be in the conversation after an 11-9 season and losing Trey is impressive. But this year, the crown didn't just slip, it fell into the sewer.
Now, let's talk about the Guardians. Last year, they were in the basement. This year, they rose from the ashes like a phoenix. 16-4. They owned the East Division.
This GM deserves a standing ovation. To turn a bottom dweller into a 16-win powerhouse, that's some Executive of the Year stuff. Cade Cunningham was finally becoming the guy we thought he was.
But then, the infirmary started filling up. It was like a curse. J-Dub was playing, "Now you see me, now you don't." Jaren Jackson Jr. goes down. Maxey breaks his hand. And then, the final dagger Cade goes down right when the playoffs start.
It was heartbreaking, Tommy. It's hard to win a fantasy matchup when your starting lineup looks like the cast of Grey's Anatomy. The Power Bombers didn't even have to do much. They just waited for the Guardians to run out of healthy bodies.
They had everything to prove, and they proved they are elite talent evaluators. But the gods of fantasy are cruel. If this team stays healthy next year, they aren't just Guardians. They're the favorites. Watch your back, Notre Dame time. Finally, the Enigma. The team name that makes me blush, even though I've been dead since 1986. 2 balls, 1 hoop.
They're the load management kings. They finished 10-10, but Tommy, when this team was actually on the court, they were terrifying. Giannis is a cheat code. When he plays, you lose. Period.
That's the problem. When he plays. This roster was like a luxury car that only starts on Tuesdays if the humidity is exactly 40%. They'd rack up 500 points one night and then have 5 guys DNP, rest the next.
It's frustrating because the GM clearly has an eye for production. Every player on that squad was a per-minute monster. But you can't win a Fabi League with a see you next week strategy. They took the Z Tigers to the brink, but the Tigers actually showed up for work.
It's a classic case of high risk, high reward. The GM built a Ferrari, but forgot that Ferraris need constant maintenance. If they can find some guys who actually enjoy playing basketball 82 games a year, this 10-10 record becomes 15-5 easy.
For sure. They didn't go down without a fight, but it's hard to swing a punch when your arm is in a sling every other night.
All right, moving right along to the Alphas. This GM came in with a plan drafted with intent, had a vision, and then, early on, they pulled the trigger on a massive gamble, swapping Cat for Kawhi Leonard.
I love that move, Tommy. Everyone said Kawhi wouldn't stay on the floor, but the man was a cyborg down the stretch. That trade single-handedly kept the Alphas in the hunt during the final weeks. It was a GM of the Year level chess move.
It was! But then they forgot how to play the rest of the game. It's like they built a beautiful house and then forgot to take out the trash. They sat on injured players like they were family heirlooms.
It's the free agency phobia. There were studs sitting on the wire, and this GM was just staring at guys with out for season next to their names, like they were going to miraculously heal in the locker room. If they had just used the FAB to replace the dead weight, we aren't talking about a 9-11 finish, we're talking about them holding the trophy.
Absolute facts. The talent evaluation is elite, but the roster management was, well, let's just say it was stagnant. Use the waiver wire next year, Alphas. It's there for a reason. Next up, the league's only female GM Padfoot Toes. She had Sabonis anchoring the middle, and when that team was clicking, they were scary.
Man, that 5-game win streak was legendary. They looked like a freight train coming for the playoff seeds. Sabonis was putting up triple doubles like he was boredom personified. For a minute there, the rest of the league was checking their mirrors.
And then, the injury bug bit. Hard. It wasn't just a sting. It was an infestation. Every time she got a guy back, 2 more went to the trainer's room.
It's the toughest way to lose. You 7-13 finish doesn't tell the whole story. This GM knows how to build a balanced squad, but you can't coach against a torn ligament. If she comes back and gets a clean bill of health next season, Padfoot Toes is going to be kicking a lot of people out of the top 4.
And now, Jokey the Goat, or, as I like to call them, the Invisible Man. 5-15 record.
Tommy, I'm not even sure this GM has the app downloaded. They were a total ghost for half the season. You've got Anthony Davis, the Brow, and he's basically carrying the entire franchise on his back while the GM is off on a permanent vacation.
It's a tragedy. They didn't even touch their fab budget for months. That's like having $100 in your pocket and choosing to starve. They tried to wake up at the very end and make some moves, but the ship hadn't just sailed. It had already hit the iceberg and sunk.
You can't win in this league by being a part-time manager. AD is great, but even he can't win 1-on-5 every week. If you're gonna call yourself the GOAT, you gotta actually show up to the pasture once in a while.
Hopefully, they find their login credentials before next year's draft. Otherwise, it's just gonna be another season of AD doing heavy lifting for a GM who's at the beach. All right, let's talk about the new kids on the block. Dunkin' Donuts, rookie expansion team, drafting Amen Thompson. They started slow, which is expected. But man, once they got the gears turning, they actually had a sneaky good lineup.
They did! This GM has an eye for talent, I'll give him that. They weren't just picking names out of a hat. But Tommy, what's the point of having a Ferrari if you leave it in the garage with the door locked? They kept forgetting to set their damn lineups.
It's the ultimate fantasy sin. You've got points sitting on your bench while your active slots are empty. It's like buying a dozen donuts and letting them go stale on the counter. Had they just checked their phone for 5 minutes a day, this 5-15 record is easily a playoff seed.
Exactly. The foundation is there, but the Duncan part of the name only works if you actually show up to the court. Wake up and smell the coffee, rookie. The talent is there, now we just need the effort.
Next, we have the Ballers, the trash talkers of the league. They talk a big game, but their roster was basically a high-end retirement home or a physical therapy clinic.
Oh man, the Ballers. This roster looks like a 2018 All-NBA first-team ballot. Jokic, LeBron, Ja Morant, Zion, PG, the real me, not the host, and Embiid. On paper, that's a dynasty. In reality, that's 0-9 to start the season because half those guys were in street clothes.
It was a heavy team in all the wrong ways. You've got the GOATs in Jokic and LeBron, but you paired them with the most fragile glass in the league. You can't talk trash from the bottom of the standings, 3-17.
If you're gonna draft the in-and-out crew, you better have some reliable insurance. This GM went all in on name value and forgot that availability is the best ability. Less talking, more drafting guys who actually have intact ACLs next year, please.
Now let's get into it. The regular season Giants. Notre Dame time. 17-3. Number 1 overall seed. Luka Doncic is a cheat code, and this GM is a straight-up bargain hunter. A poacher.
Mr. Lucky himself. Look, you don't get 17 wins by accident, and the squad was undeniably solid. But this GM has the spending habits of a lottery winner in a strip club. They blew through their entire fab budget before we even hit week 10.
It was wild. Who spends all their cash before the halfway point? And when the money ran out, the desperation started. The trade offers coming out of Notre Dame were so bad the league had to step in like a UN peacekeeping force. Veto after veto.
When you have 0 FAB and no one wants to trade with you because your offers are offensive, you're stuck. As soon as the injuries hit in the playoffs, the luck evaporated. They were the Giants of the regular season, but they entered the postseason with empty pockets and a short bench. A 17-win season with no hardware? That's a tough pill to swallow.
Moving on to the Power Bombers. This GM is the ultimate scout, the numbers guy. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading the charge? That's a masterclass in drafting.
For real, Tommy. If this league was decided by a calculator, the Power Bombers would be holding the trophy right now. They had the points, they had the efficiency, but man, the luck of the draw was not on their side. That late season heartbreaker against the Z Tigers, losing by 3 points on a Sunday afternoon, that's the kind of loss that makes you want to throw your phone into the Red River.
It was brutal. They crawled into the playoffs as the 7th seed, and they had Cinderella story written all over them. But then, the mystery happened.
The Great Bench Massacre. Why would a numbers guy bench his starters at the last minute in a win-or-go-home scenario? It's like a surgeon walking out in the middle of an operation to go get a Slurpee. They had the talent to be in the finals, but they overthought themselves right out of the bracket. A tough way for a team to go out.
Now, let's talk about the young guns, the Z Tigers. The youngest GM in the league, and he plays with more swagger than the 2000s Lakers. Anthony Edwards is the heart of this squad. But the scouting here is what killed the competition.
Man, this GM was living on the waiver wire early. Snagging Edgecombe and Ajay Mitchell, that wasn't luck. That was vision. That 10-week win streak wasn't just a heater, it was a statement.
They were the runners-up last year, PG. They came into this season with a massive chip on their shoulder and something to prove. They didn't just want to make the playoffs. They wanted to dominate.
And dominate they did. Pushing all the way back to the finals, that's consistency. They've got the youth, they've got the Flagg, they've got the Cooper. If you aren't scared of the Tigers for the next 5 years, you aren't paying attention. They're a problem.
Finally, we have the Pinguinis. If Notre Dame time is the poacher, the Pinguinis GM is the Wolf of Wall Street. They didn't just build a team, they orchestrated a franchise.
I've never seen anything like it. They basically acquired the entire San Antonio Spurs roster around Wemby. It looked crazy in November, but by the time the playoffs rolled around, that chemistry was paying dividends.
And don't forget the heist of the century snagging Jason Tatum off the wire weeks before his return. That's not just a deal. That's a robbery. They were aggressive with the power bombers. They fleeced the alphas in trades. They moved pieces like a grandmaster.
They navigated the board perfectly to get to the finals. They knew exactly when to strike and when to hold. Between the Wemby factor and the trade deadline heroics, the Pinguinis turned waddling into a full-on sprint to the championship round. Whatever happens in that final box score, you have to respect the hustle.
All right, PG. It's time to put our reputations on the line. We're looking ahead to the next season. The FAB is reset, the rosters are blank, and the GMs are already hovering over their draft boards. Who's your way too early pick for the 2027 championship?
You know, I like a redemption story, Tommy. I'm looking at the Guardians. They were a 16-4 juggernaut that only got stopped by a medical bill. If that GM manages the draft like they did last year and actually finds some guys who aren't made of glass, they are the team to beat. They're coming back with a vengeance.
Bold. I'm going with the Z Tigers. That youth movement is only getting stronger. By 2027, guys like Anthony Edwards and the incoming rookie class, we're talking names like AJ Dibansa or Cameron Boozer, potentially hitting the fantasy landscape, will be in full stride. The Tigers have the swagger. Now they'll have the experience. Who needs to redraft big next year?
It's the ballers, period. You can't roll out a 2018 All-Star team in 2027 and expect your training staff to perform miracles. This GM needs to move away from the big name trap and draft some high floor, high durability guys to pair with a superstar. If they draft for health instead of highlights, they're a top 4 team.
I'd also put Dunkin' Donuts in that category. The rookie coma is over. They've seen the pace of this league. I expect them to draft aggressive, high-usage guards. If they actually set their lineups, they're the dark horse of 2027. Last question. Who needs a statement win in Week 1?
Jokey the GOAT. No question. They were a ghost this year. If they don't come out in Week 1 of the 2027 season and drop a 500-point bomb on someone, the rest of the league is going to keep treating them like a bye week. They need to prove they actually have the app installed.
And I'll add Notre Dame time. After a 17-3 season that ended in a fabulous disaster, They need to prove that their success wasn't just Mr. Lucky at work. They need to win early, win big, and for the love of everything, save some money for November.
Preach, Tommy! Well, the 2026 season was a wild ride, but 27 is already looking like a movie.
Keep your eyes on the waiver wire and your stars on the court. The countdown to the 2027 draft is on. We will be right back.
On this frosty night, two podcast crews collide. Fantasy Hoops, PG-13 and Tommy Douglas. Smiles, stats, and soccer soul. Courtside chaos. It's a fantasy Christmas sleigh in the mic. Two podcast crews in a holiday fight. PG brings the joy, Tommy drops the truth. CJ and Reese roast like they lost their youth. We jingle these trades, we slay these stats. RCMP Plus got the gift of the raps. Yo, Reese, you ball with a beard, got that villainous glare, but your take's so cold, they freeze mid-air. CJ reppin' J's like they ain't choke in Game 7. Your playoff dreams gone by in an 11. Sunglasses indoors, you dodging the shame, but your take strike out like your favorite game. Y'all tear down teams like it's personal beef, but your own squads crumble like holiday reefs. Reese, your accent's fire, but your heart's on mute. You roll so hard, your follicle said, we out. You chill, but your logic's loose. You draft like...
Welcome back to the grand finale. I'm Tommy Douglas, and we have survived the most electric, dramatic, and flat-out chaotic season in RCMP plus Fantasy Hoops history to 20 weeks. 12 teams. One wild ride.
It started with the East looking like a bunch of bullies. King Cobras picking up right where they left off, but injuries turned that conference into a hospital ward. Meanwhile, the West was a literal street fight. I've never seen a conference trade wins like that.
We've got the final standings set. Notre Dame Time and the Guardians are our titans. The Z Tigers were the hottest team on the planet for 10 weeks. And the Ballers, well, they won a game.
Barely. But we're bringing back 3 crews who lived through the smoke with us. Let's get to it.
Firstly, we bring in the energy. Mikey Mike, Zoomy, how we feeling after that finale?
Hoo! Tommy, the bounce house is rocking. The West was a literal party this year. Every night was a banger. Did you see Anthony Edwards dropping 221 points? That's not basketball, that's a video game.
It was sick! The best moment was definitely Anthony Edwards and Josh Hart just obliterating scores in Week 6. The Z Tigers are the coolest team in the league, period. Cooper Flagg is the future, man.
Zumi, you're the youth expert. Who is the future team to look out for?
It's the Z Tigers, PG. They were the 3rd seed, they have the youngest vibes, and they don't care about your veto drama. They just hoop. But keep an eye on Dunkin' Donuts. They just fell short this year, forgetting to set their lineups.
And don't sleep on the Pinguinis. They're the deal makers. They turned a messy situation into a super team. That's the energy we need. What's next for the league? More trades, more claps, more heat.
Your energy, boys, is amazing. Glad to have you boys could be a part of this finale.
Let's class it up a bit. Mel, Z, you guys watched the tactical shift this year. From the Pinguinis becoming a super team to the Guardians' rise.
It was a masterclass in opportunistic management, PG. The Pinguinis are the GMs of the year in my book. They saw the Power Bombers and Jokey the Goat veto drama over Franz Wagner, stepped in with Jared McCain, and built a powerhouse. Acquiring Cat from the Alphas was the icing on the cake.
I have to disagree on the Guardians, though. They took the crown from the Cobras early, but that Matas Buzelis for Jalen Tyson trade? Immediate regret. You could see it in their face. They could have lost the top seed because they got cute with the roster.
Z. The Z Tigers had that incredible 1-0 week win streak before Notre Dame Time finally put a stop to it. Was that the best moment of the season?
Absolutely. Beating the Power Bombers, Guardians, and 2 balls 1 hoop back-to-back? That's how you cement a legacy. The best moment, though, was that 300-point comeback the Guardians had on the Pinguinis. It proved that in this league, no lead is safe.
What's next for the league, Mel?
Sustainability. We saw the Alphas and Padfoot Toes fight until the very last week. The gap between the 1 seed and the 8 seed is closing. Next year, I expect the Alphas to come back with a vengeance. They draft healthy, they aren't missing the playoffs again.
Thanks, ladies, for coming back on. Now here we go. The men who lived in the trenches of the trade deadline drama. Evil Reese, Playboy, CJ, welcome to the wrap-up.
Save the pleasantries, Tommy. This season was a mess. You've got GMs trying to sneak collusion deals past the goalie like we wouldn't notice.
Facts. The trade deadline was a circus. Notre Dame time trying to bypass the Guardians for a better deal with Jokey the Goat? That looked dirtier than a subway floor. The league was right to veto that nonsense.
CJ, let's talk about the ballers. 3 and 17. The dinosaurs, as the Pinguinis called them. Best moment for them?
Best moment? Getting put out of their misery. They spent 10 weeks barking about waiting for health while Jokic and LeBron watched the playoffs from the couch. It was pathetic. The best moment was seeing that 9-game losing streak finally snap, just so we didn't have to hear them cry anymore.
Reese, future team to look out for?
Honestly, the Power Bombers. They were patched in that 7th seed for so long. They were stuck, unable to secure a victory late, but SGA and Giddy eventually came back. The Power Bombers survived the first round, ending the Guardians' perfect season. But mark my words, the drama isn't over. This league needs a house cleaning.
There you have it. The crews have spoken. Glad we could fit them on the show today.
Yeah, perfect way to wrap up the season. From the Guardians' 16 wins to the Ballers' 17 losses, it's been a season for the history books.
Keep your rosters tight and your trash talk louder. We will be back right back.
October. A new draft. A new gauntlet. A new chance to rewrite the story. 2027. Stronger. Louder. Pettier. And absolutely ready for war. 12 teams. 20 matchups. 7 playoff spots. 1 champion. Are you ready? RCMP Plus will be back.
And just like that, the season is over. A champion has been crowned, the storylines are written, and RCMP Plus Fantasy Hoops comes to a close.
It is kind of crazy when you think about it. Week after week, breaking down matchups, calling out bad lineups, arguing over who knows ball and who clearly does not.
Mostly you not knowing ball. But yeah, I get your point.
That is insane, coming from the guy who picked against half the winning teams this season.
I was playing the long game. You would not understand that.
The long game? You were just wrong longer.
All right. But that is what made this show what it was. The debates, the chaos, the moments where absolutely nothing made sense.
And honestly, it was a lot of fun. Getting to cover this league, watching it unfold in real time, seeing the personalities of each team come out over the season.
Every team had a story. The dominant runs, the late pushes, the collapses, the what could have been moments.
And we were here for all of it. Every Monday to Sunday matchup, every big performance, every questionable decision.
But we are going to be real with you. This took a lot of work.
A lot of work.
And as much as we love doing this, we are calling it here. This is the final season of RCMP Plus Fantasy Hoops.
No comeback tour, no see you next year. This is it.
We gave it everything we had. And honestly, it would be hard to top a season like this anyway.
That is true. You cannot script a season this chaotic even if you tried.
Before we go, I just want to say it has been an incredible ride doing this show with you.
Even if you were wrong most of the time.
See, this is why we are ending it. I cannot do another season of this.
You would not survive another season of me being right.
Unbelievable.
But seriously, this meant a lot.
It did.
So to everyone who followed along, who listened, who's part of the league, this was special.
For PG-13, I am Tommy Douglas.
Thank you for being part of RCMP Plus Fantasy Hoops.
Signing off for the final time.
The RCMP Plus Fantasy Hoops League. A battleground of rivals, dreamers, deal-makers, and champions. A place where every lineup choice echoed across the standings. Where every trade reshaped destinies. And where every manager carved their name into the digital court. From the rise of the East to the wildfire of the West. From streaks that felt unbreakable to collapses no one saw coming. This was a season that forged legends and left scars. This is RCMP Plus Fantasy Hoops. Signing off for the last time. For the season, they chronicled the chaos. They told the stories no box score could capture. They laughed with you, they argued with you, and they lived every waiver claim, every veto, every heartbreak. But every journey has a final broadcast, and theirs ends here. No one knows what comes next for the league. Will the dynasties rise again? Will new powers emerge? Will the chaos return, stronger than before? Only time will reveal the truth. But one thing is certain, the echoes of this season will shape the battles of 2027. The aftermath has already begun. And somewhere out there, new adventures await the hosts who carried the story. King Cobras, Guardians, Power Bombers, Pinguinis, Z Tigers, Alphas, Padfoot Toes, Purple Sunshiners, Jokey the Goat, Ballers, Two Balls One Hoop, Dunkin' Donuts, Notre Dame Time. Each team left their mark on the league, and their stories are woven into the fabric of this unforgettable season.